Hello, welcome everyone. I am Sunanda Narwani from Shri Guru Kripa Vidya Sankul, and today we are going to be discussing one of the most basic topics of English grammar, which is tenses. Now, tenses are very simple, but they are still considered to be extremely important. Why is that? It's because tenses are used to depict the time frames in the English language. Without tenses, we might not be able to know the answer to the question when an action has taken place, the exact time of the action. So let's get started with it. So there are basically three time frames in English grammar: present, past, and the future. Each time frame consists of four types of tenses each. We'll discuss this in detail. Now let's pick up any verb at random, any regular verb which has three forms. The first form is called the base verb or the root verb. The second form is called the past form of the verb, and the third form is known as past participle. Okay, so let's select any verb at random. Write. So the first form of the verb will be, of course, write. The past form will be wrote, and the past participle will be written. We also have the ing form of the verb, which is specifically used in the continuous tense. We'll discuss this in detail. So basically there are these three types of or three forms of the verb which you have to keep in mind. So for the rest of the explanation, I'll be using the verb write. So the first time frame that we are going to be talking about is, of course, the present tense. It consists of four types of tenses. First one is simple present tense. Okay. I will explain each type of tense with an example which will help you get a clear understanding of that tense. So here, let's look for the example. I write in my diary every day. Usually in simple present tense, you talk about your habits, something that you do on an everyday basis. So here we are using the first form of the verb. So the rule is very simple over here. Subject, which of course is I. Verb, which is the first form of the verb, and object. Simple present tense is the easiest to understand. I write in my diary every day. I walk every day. I write a novel. So you just have to make sure that in simple present tense, the first form of the verb is being used. The second type of tense in present time frame is present continuous tense. All right. Like I mentioned earlier, in continuous tense, we use the ing form of the verb. So here we are going to use writing. For example, I am writing in my book. This action is presently taking place. It's an ongoing action. It's a continuing action, which is why we are using the ing form of the verb. The rule again here is simple. Subject plus am, is or are, plus the ing form of the verb and plus the object. Okay, so here with I we are using am. Okay, so now we have already talked about simple present tense and present continuous tense. Okay. So according to the subject, whether the subject is singular or plural, the helping verb also changes. For example, in the last sentence that we saw in present continuous tense, the sentence was I am writing in my book. With I, we had used the helping verb am. If the subject changes to she or he, the helping verb will be is writing. And if the subject is plural, they or you or we, then the helping verb will be are. So in present tense, the helping verb for present continuous tense is am, is or are. And similarly, if it was past tense, past continuous, the helping verbs would have been was or were. We'll come to that. Okay. The third type of tense in the present time frame is present perfect. Okay. Here, we just have an addition to make. In present perfect tense, we are going to add has or have with the third form of the verb. Perfect tense automatically means the usage of the third form or the past participle form of the verb, which here is written. Okay, so for example, the sentence will sound something like this. You have, with a plural verb, the plural subject, we will use a plural helping verb. You have written, this is the third form of the verb, an essay. Alright. And if the subject is singular, she or he, then of course the helping verb changes. She has again written, the third form of the verb. So in present perfect tense, we have to use has or have with the third form of the verb. Whenever you see this word perfect tense, you automatically have to understand that we have to use the third form, the past participle form of the verb, whether the time frame is present, past or future. Okay, coming to the fourth and the last type of tense in this time frame. It's an amalgamation of the two previous tenses that we have discussed. Present perfect continuous tense. Okay. The rule is a bit complicated. I have been writing in my book. So look over here. This is the subject. This is the helping verb. This is, of course, because of the continuous tense, we are using ing form of the verb. To join have and writing, we have added an extra been, which will always be a part when perfect continuous tense is being talked about. Whether it's past perfect continuous tense or future perfect continuous tense, just remember between the helping verb and the main ing form of the verb, you have to add a been. Okay, so here I have been writing in my book. She has been writing in her book. They have been writing in their books. Again, according to the subject, the verb will change. So we have already discussed the present time frame and the four tenses that go along with it. Now it's time to move on to the next time frame, which is the past tense. Again, there are four types of tenses in this time frame as well. Let's begin with the first one. Simple past tense. Here, we will always use the second form of the verb. So here we have taken an example of write, the second form being wrote. Let's look at the example. I wrote an essay. Now here, the easy part is, whether the subject changes, the verb will remain the same. Even if it's I, or he or she, or you, we, or they, they'll always use the second form of the verb, which is wrote. No need of an helping verb, which makes it very easier. So he or she wrote an essay, you wrote an essay, we wrote an essay, they wrote an essay. So the simple past tense is one of the easiest types of tenses. Okay. Moving on to past continuous tense. Now I hope by looking at the word continuous, it has automatically come into your mind that we need to use the ing form of the verb. Again, for an example, they were writing in their books. Now, because it's past tense, we will use was or were. That will depend on the subject. Okay, whether it's a plural subject or a singular subject, according to that, we will be using the helping verb. So here, because I have used they, I am using the helping verb were. They were writing in their books. For example, if the subject was I, it will be I was writing in my book. So according to the subject, whether it's singular or plural, you have to remember the usage of the helping verb. Moving on to the next type of the tense in the past time frame. Past perfect tense. Now, because it's perfect, like I already said earlier, we are going to be using the third form of the verb. For example, he had written an essay. Okay, so over here again we are using the third form of the verb, right? Written, plus for the helping verb we are using had. In the present tense we had used has or have, but over here we are using had. This will remain same for all the subjects, whether they are singular or plural, we are going to use had. No confusion like in the present tense, whether we have to use has for singular or have for plural. Here, whether the subject is singular or plural, we will be using had. The last type of tense in the past tense frame is again an amalgamation of the second and third tenses, past perfect continuous tense. Okay. You had been writing in your book. So here again we are using the helping verb had, we are using the ing form of verb because of continuous tense, okay, and because we are joining perfect and continuous tenses together, we will use been. So you had been writing in your book. Now whether the subject is again singular or plural, it doesn't matter in past tense, we will still use had. I had been writing in my book, they had been writing in their book, she had been writing in her book. So again, this helping verb will not change. Alright, so coming to the final, last time frame, which is of course the future tense. The first type of tense in the future time frame is of course the simple future tense. Now, one of the easiest ways in which you can depict that this is the sentence for a future tense time frame is the usage of the helping verb will or shall. They can be used interchangeably, but we usually use will. So, for example, the sentence goes like this: I will write tomorrow. Okay, so here you are using the first form of the verb write and you are joining it with the modal or the helping verb will. Okay, so I will write tomorrow. This is an action that you're going to do sometime in the future. It's pretty simple. Here as well, whether the subject is singular or plural. For example, if it's he will write tomorrow. Singular subject, we are still using will write. If the subject is plural, they will write tomorrow. Again, this part doesn't change. The helping verb and the main verb will not change. The second type of tense in the future time frame is future continuous tense. Okay, so now in future continuous tense, again, because it's continuous, we are going to use the ing form of the verb and the usage of will remain constant. Now, for example, she will be writing an essay. Okay, so here the ing form of the verb, because it's the continuous tense, future, so we are going to use will. Now to join will and the ing form of the verb, we need be. So she will be writing an essay, they will be writing an essay, I will be writing an essay. Doesn't matter what the subject is, singular or plural, the formation of the verbs will be in the same manner. Okay. So now moving on to the third type of tense in the future time frame, future perfect. Now it's perfect tense again, guys. So you have to understand that again we'll use the third form of the verb. So the sentence will go something like this. He will have written an essay by tomorrow. Okay, so you are predicting that this person will have written an essay by tomorrow's time. Okay, so will, third form of the verb, written, because it's the perfect tense. And like in present tense, we had the confusion whether to use has or have, depending on whether the subject is singular or plural. In past tense, we did not have such confusion. We directly used had and the third form of the verb for the perfect tense. Here, again, there is no confusion. With will, you always have to use have. So will have written will remain constant. Doesn't matter what the subject is, singular or plural. So I will have written an essay by tomorrow. He will have written an essay by tomorrow. They will have written an essay by tomorrow. You will have written an essay by tomorrow. The subject will not affect the verb or the helping verb. The last type of tense in the future time frame is future perfect continuous tense, just like we had done in the present time frame and the past time frame. Okay, now here the sentence will be slightly longer because you have to combine the second and third form of tense, plus you have to write been. Okay, so he will have been okay. He will have been writing in his book for 3 days. So see, the sentence has become so long. He will have been writing. So because it's the continuous tense, is writing. Okay, we are using the ing form of the verb. And of course, for the future, we have will. Because it's perfect tense, we are going to use have. And to join the perfect and continuous tenses together, we are using been. So I hope the tenses are a bit clear to you. I know it's a bit confusing, 12 types of tenses, but if you remember 4 types of tenses in one time frame, the rules will automatically follow for the other time frames as well. So thank you.